This podcast discusses paranormal activity and other topics some might find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised.
Is it a chill or a ghostly breeze? A knock, a tap, what do you believe? Ghosts, gossip, gather around where the lost and the haunted are found. Ghosts, gossip, don't make a sound. Truth or tales, we'll dig it out.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ghost Gossip. Today, I am joined by Star, and trust me when I say she is a star. She is the creator and the host of the Creepy Shit podcast. Hello, Star!
Hi, thank you for having me. This is so awesome.
Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited. We came across each other last July. Is that when you started your podcast?
I started it in May of last year.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So a few months
Yep.
in. And I was like, I love her vibe. She just is your first video I think I ever saw. I can't remember which one it was, but it was, you want to hear some creepy shit? And I'm like, yes,
Yep,
I
that
do.
sounds about right.
Absolutely. So just to start, introduce yourself and tell us about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Star. I run Creepy Shit, of course, and I go into all things paranormal. I was brought up with Scooby-Doo and Casper the Ghost and all that kind of stuff, and I always felt very outcasted growing up. I think as a lot of people in the paranormal community do. And I just always loved it. I love tarot. I do love a Ouija board. I'm not afraid of them. Like, there's a lot of,
I am, but I have
yeah,
one.
I love it. So, and even like on the back of my phone, I have one. Like, I do. I love them. So, and I'm not afraid
Nice.
of them. And I've just always been very intrigued in the unexplained and the unsolved. And I was doing a podcast before Creepy Shit, and it was very, how would I say, I would describe it as like holistic. It was very holistic, very into like spirituality and meditation and yoga and like all that kind of stuff. Still definitely part of my core of who I am, but I'm definitely more into the weird and the creepy. And I'm like, you know what? Why am I not tapping into this? And I came across a podcast that a mom friend of mine referred to me, and I fell in love with it. And I was like, okay, you know how like Phoebe on Friends made it okay to be weird? I felt like they made it okay to be creepy on a podcast. And so that's where that went. And I'm a very happily married woman. I love the outdoors and, walks on the beach and all that good stuff.
Ugh, I love it. The long walks on the beach and puppies and rainbows.
And rainbows and, all that good stuff. And I have a really cute
But I like,
child, so
yes, and then I like dark and macabre.
right. It's like I'm somewhere between like Harley Quinn and Nancy from The Craft meets like the good Margot Kidder of like Barbie.
Oh, I like to think I'm just a bubblier version of Morticia.
Oh my God, I
You know
love
what I mean?
that.
Like,
That is so perfect for you. That is exactly you. I love that.
I love it. Like, my husband's just like Gomez, except he doesn't have hair, but like affection wise and stuff like that, like he is my Gomez. So I'm like, that's perfect.
I love that. I love that.
So I kind of had I had a podcast before, and it was more like, because I had such a kind of a turbulent 20s and 30s, I was like, this is like self-help. And then I realized I shouldn't help anybody. I like creepy crap. I want to talk about that instead, because I was living in my haunted house, and it was Two Girls, One Ghost that inspired me to step into this realm, because I mean, nobody knew. I'm like a closeted spooky person, or I was. Not anymore. I'm way out now. Hello.
We are
But
so
that's,
parallel. It is crazy.
isn't it?
Yes.
It's so weird. I love when I meet my kindred spirits in the world. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yep. When you meet your people. Totally. I completely get it. Like, because much like you, my 20s and 30s were totally turbulent as well. And I was married once before too. And now I'm very happily married to what I deem as my demon Salvatore, but in a same way. And he, like, I know I'm almost 50, and like I still love Vampire Diaries to this day and always will.
Okay. You brought that up, so we're going down that
Okay.
road. My daughter just discovered it.
Are you so proud?
Uh-huh.
Like, are you, like, the proudest mom ever? I would be so proud.
I was like, "Oh," because I watched it when I was younger, and so she came in my room, she goes, "Mom, if you don't see me all day, I'm not depressed, I promise. I am binge watching a new show," and I went,
Okay.
"Mhm," and first off, I'm like, "What is the show?" Just to be sure,
Right.
and she goes, "It's Vampire Diaries," and I was like,
Can I please watch it with
"Perfect."
you?
No. Like, "Girl, you go, you binge watch," it was spring break last week, so I'm like, anything to kinda get them off of my body
Yes.
because my girls love to sit on me.
Yes, what is that? My daughter too. I'm like, "Girl, it's just, like, 5 minutes, okay? Like, I love you, don't get me wrong,
Yes,
but just I have a bubble." Like, I still have a bubble.
yes. So, what my one daughter says is because I just feel so positive and she just loves to feel my energy, and I'm like, I mean, I love that for you. I love that you feel that way, but I'm claustrophobic.
Right? Like, "Don't. I love you."
People tell me, "Just wait, they will want nothing to do with you." And I'm like, "When? When does that start?" Because it doesn't seem like all 3 of my kids, even our son who is more like me, he's very, like, standoffish, he will still come and find me every single day when he gets home, give me a hug, and tell me he loves me, and then he'll disappear, but he still comes and finds me no matter where I am, except in the bathroom. He's the one that won't follow me to the
Oh
toilet.
my god, and that too, I'm like, "When do I get to have just, like, 10 minutes of peace to do what I
Mhm.
need to do?" Like,
When when do I get to poop without an audience?
right?
At what point does that start?
Oh, excuse me, it's so true. Because 'Cause I'm like, "Okay, all it takes too is for that one person, which is usually my little person, to open the door, and now the cat's in there, and then the dog's in there," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, for the love, like, I just need a minute.
Mhm. I had an interview with Courtney the Ghoul Guide 2 weeks ago, and we interviewed at the we interviewed at the night. Oh, dear lord. We interviewed in the evening. I can't think. And it was first just my little dog who was in here somewhere. So if you see something move right back there, that's just her. But also my black cat came in, my white cat came in, and then my pit bull came in. So all 4 of them were in here with me. My pit bull is 80 pounds. He gets under my desk. He gets stuck. My whole setup is shaking. I have a cat that gets in my lap. He starts like head butting me. So you just see this white cat like, and I'm like, oh my God, I promise I am somewhat professional. I am so sorry. That's what happens in nighttime recording. I can't control it because everybody's here.
Yep.
So,
Don't I know it? I have learned I'm like, really can't do it unless everybody's gone. Like, and I
yes.
can be in the studio by myself and just do my thing,
Mhm.
and when I get it done a lot quicker too. Like, it gets done a lot
Yes.
quicker.
Nobody's interrupting you.
Yeah. Yes. And I don't know how much you know about human design or anything like that, but like it always fascinates me on how in sync my human design actually is as a manifesting generator because I'm like, yep, I cannot be interrupted. Like that drives me up a wall. It is like a short fuse. It's totally a trigger. Like, nope, don't interrupt me. I'm in the creative process and let me work and I will totally give you all the attention in the world when I'm all done.
So, what did you call that? I've never heard of that
Human
before.
design? Oh
Uh-huh.
my gosh, it is really crazy. So it's a combination of several different things going into like quantum physics, going into astrology. I'm trying to think of all the different like ancient things that go into it. But it's basically you need your exact birth time in order to look it up
Mhm.
and where you were, all that kind of stuff geographically, and then it'll spit out your actual report to you on what your human design actually is. And inside the chart, because it's like a human body, and inside the chart, there are gates and channels and all these different numbers, and it can seem really overwhelming when you first look at it. But as you go through it, it'll break it down, and there's apps for it and all that kind of stuff that make it super easy. And I used to do them because I am human design certified, and I used to do readings quite a bit. And I still do. I just don't make it as publicly known since my love is now in this. But
Mhm.
yeah, if you ever wanna check it out, it is really, really fascinating. You just need your exact birth time to find it.
Yeah. I've had a birth chart made for me once, but I is that the same thing?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, I didn't think so, but okay, okay. Well, that is really cool. I wouldn't be surprised if mine's also interruption is a trigger because I hate it. I also hate being told to do something when I'm doing it.
Yes, and what's that about?
That
Like,
will send
what do
me.
you think I'm doing right now?
Oh, yeah. When I worked for the court, I worked with judges and attorneys. So they love to do that crap
Mhm.
all the time. I'm like literally doing something. They're like, oh, by the way. And I'd be like, I am.
Right? There is no Dana, only Zool.
Okay. So how did you come up with like the creepy shit? Like, did it just hit you one day? Like creepy shit?
So the story on how that got titled, it's really funny. I am also a Sagittarius and I have a fiery temper in a good way,
So
in
is
a
my
good way.
daughter.
And I was getting frustrated because everything that I wanted to name the podcast was taken. And I
Right.
was like getting mad and I'm like, is it okay to swear? Like, okay,
Absolutely.
cool. So I literally had a moment. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. It's just called creepy shit and that's the end of it. I'm done. And 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 it's stuck. And, my husband, he's like, "Honestly," he's like, "That's a great name for that podcast." And I'm like, "Okay." So and he's a musician by trade. He is definitely he definitely knows what can hook, and he's
Hmm.
like, "That's got a good hook." He's like, "People would be intrigued by that." And I was like, "Then that's what I'm calling it. Done." And it wasn't
That's
taken.
perfect. It
So
really is. Of course it wasn't. Well, I did the same thing with ghost gossip, except I did find one and it was ghostly gossip. And I was like, and they hadn't posted in years,
Sure.
years. So I was like, okay. And I still check every once in a while just to make sure. And they still haven't posted anything. So I was just like, okay, well, ghost gossip, it's different. So it's mine.
Yep, it's mine now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. But mine came, I was walking at 4:30 in the morning working out. And I was in the middle of a street, because it's 4:30 in the morning, just walking. And I was listening to two girls, one ghost, and they were talking about gossiping about ghost. And I was like,
That's it.
ghost gossip. I love it.
That, Two Girls, One Ghost were definitely a podcast that hit me first, along with National Park After Dark, but the one that did it big time for me was Morbid. Morbid was
Morbid.
yeah,
Oh my
Morbid
God.
was the
I
one that made
love
it
them.
okay for me to be weird, and I was like, "Okay,
I love them so
I do
much.
too."
I used to listen to them religiously, but when I started doing this, it's funny when you start creating podcasts, it starts limiting the time that you have to listen to
It
podcasts.
totally does, and I try to listen to so many, and I try to always make sure
Mhm.
that I share the support and show the support as much as I can, but yeah, it does, it becomes like you're doing your thing, and it gets really difficult to listen in all the time like I used to, and sometimes I miss
Yeah.
that, but I'm about to go on spring break, so I have a feeling I'll catch up on some things.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I do the same thing. Like I will, and I always, and you are very supportive, and I appreciate that so much because not everybody is.
That
And
is true.
the people that do, they stand out, and I know I appreciate it because there are times especially like I hate TikTok. All my listeners know I hate TikTok
I
so
have
much.
ditched TikTok because I have gotten so
I'm
frustrated with
about
it.
to.
I'm like, "Yep, I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore."
Yeah, I am still about to because last summer I was mass reported by some people for no reason, for no reason. And when you get mass reported on TikTok, TikTok doesn't forget.
Mhm.
And I'm not a big social media person anyway. I hate social media. I
Really?
hate
You're
being
so
connected
good
all the
at it
time.
though. Like your content that comes through on Instagram, I always see it always comes up in my feed, probably because I seek you out
Right.
and gently
Yours does
stalk
too.
you. But but like it when it comes up, I'm like, man, she's so creative. She comes up with the best content ideas.
You're so sweet. I feel horrible at it. I feel old. I'm like, ugh, old. My friend had a good idea though. They're like, you should get your daughters to start helping you with content. I was like, that's actually a really good idea because they're at that age where they have social media, but they're not allowed to really post on it. So they just kind of scroll
Yeah.
and then they send me stuff, which I think is hysterical. But I hate it.
Yeah.
I wish I could just podcast. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yep. And I love Instagram. I love Instagram. I don't like Facebook.
Mm.
Facebook is really that's a different breed of a social platform. And I feel like there's just a lot of negativity. There's a
Hmm.
lot of politics on Facebook for me. And I'm like, no, I just want to
Hmm.
get to the ooey gooey goodness of connection. I'm not know what I mean? And I want it to be fun and I want it to be exciting. And like Instagram just always seems, at least the way I have trained my algorithm on there, it always seems to be that way. So,
Mhm.
and I love creating for Instagram. I really do. I really do.
Yeah. I'm trying to get used to creating on Instagram because for me, doing reels and TikToks are easier to edit on
Mhm.
TikTok because the editor app,
Mhm.
it it doesn't let me do certain things. It drives me crazy.
Yes.
So I think that's the only reason I still have TikToks is just because it's so much easier to edit. Rules and the censorship that is happening, it's just like,
It's unreal. It's
it
unreal.
is so bad.
And that's
It
what
is
did
so
it,
bad.
because I wound up posting and I wasn't like, all of a sudden my views went away. And yes, I look at
Yeah.
my analytics. I mean, I, as a professional, like small business in a sense of what we do,
Mhm.
like you got to pay attention to that stuff. And so
Yeah.
I'm looking through and I'm like, wait a minute, I posted this and I've still have 0 views? Like, how do I
Mhm.
have 0 views? I'm like, that's just odd. And so it wasn't even reaching the FYP page on TikTok.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I started noticing sometimes when I would load my content, it would sit and it would spin for like hours. And I'm like, okay, I don't have time for this. Like, I don't have time for this. This needs to get loaded and I need to move on. And I can't just let it run in the background because I've got other things that I need to do, and I can't, like, it was just too much, and I was like, "Yeah, forget it." I'm like, the politics and everything aside, I'm like, "I'm over it."
And it won't load if you close the app. It
Yeah,
won't load
it
anymore.
won't
It just stops it. It's ugh, and Instagram will load most of the
most of
time.
the time.
If you Most of the time it will, depending on what it is. Stories are sometimes iffy, but most of the time what I've learned is like if even if it's not closed all the way, if it's just kind of in the background lingering somewhere, it will still upload. TikTok, nope, not
Not
today,
today.
not ever. I'm so glad you feel my pain there because I absolutely hate it. It's the bane of my existence. And I've talked to friends on there and the only reason I'm still there is because I like to support some of my paranormal family on there because they use that the most. And so I get on once a day, go find them, go see what they're doing, share, like, do all that stuff. And then I'm like, okay, until tomorrow.
Right.
Goodness, I'm so glad it's not just me. It's not just
It's not.
me. But yeah, but Facebook, I have found a great community, but I'm still relatively small, and that kind of keeps me insular from the
Mhm.
negativity. But it is just beyond it. And because I am growing slowly, they're starting to find
Mm,
me. And I'm like, does this mean I made it?
right.
This is good. So you are very creative. You seem super, super creative. And we were talking before we started. You're creative in your full time job or your life outside of podcasting. And it seems like you've always created, but you're also writing a book.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. The book is written. Um
Ooh,
And I'm in the process of finding a publisher. It's going to be available like via ebook and audio probably by summer.
nice.
Trying to find the publisher is been the trickiest part. So I'm like, well, I'll try and do as much of the self-publishing as I can. With the
Hmm.
first book, I mean, the funny thing is, and this is something that I never fully understood when it comes to publishing, is I thought, you write a book, you send it off to a publisher, that's how you do it. And yes, it is, but no, it's not, because there's certain things like there's vanity presses and there's hybrids of publishers and like all these things that I had no idea. It's like a whole new world to me. And I've decided I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and do as much of my own ebook and audiobook that I can and try and get it printed through a publisher some way, somehow. And I was really impressed because I did submit it to what I would deem as my dream publicist of books. And they wrote me back, and I knew I only had like a 10% chance of making it. Like, I knew that. And I'm like, but you never know unless you try. It's well worth the
Right.
mission. And I was very impressed with the fact that they wrote me back and they say, hey, the book's not for us. It's not really on brand for what we publish, but here's XYZ of publishers that could be interested in your book. And I just thought that was so insanely classy because I literally expected a thank you, no thank you. So now I'm in the process of submitting to those other publishers and hopefully hearing back. So hopefully it'll get published. We'll see.
So you keep me posted. I am actually friends with somebody, and I say friends, acquaintances know people. One of the benefits of doing this for the past 3 or 4 years, I've met so many people in so many areas of paranormal and publishing and this and
Mhm.
that. He is a published author. I don't think he works for anything like that, but he has a publisher, I believe.
Okay.
And I'm actually a beta reader on his new book, and I can always ask him who his publisher is
Well, that would be
if
great. Oh my gosh, I would be
yeah,
so honored
so
if you did that. Like, seriously.
yes, so after I'm gonna read his book. Let me read his book first so that way I can
Yeah.
so I can fulfill my obligation to him, and then I'll be like, "Hey, by the way, who's your
Right?
publisher?
Who is your
Who dat? Just wondering who dat." Yeah, I wanna write a book, and so I had started writing my own because I think when you're creative at heart, you are just creative in every area of your life in some form or
I
fashion.
strongly agree with that. I would say almost every single aspect of my life is about creating something.
Something. Like, I did professional photography for 12 years. I was a Zumba instructor for 5 years. Like, I loved creating, and then Zumba about took my feet out, and then photography, the clients about took me out there. And it's just, it's like, ugh, so it's like you need that avenues. So, when it comes to the paranormal, are you a paranormal believer? I'm
100%.
guessing you were, but I just wanna
I
ask.
yeah, I would definitely say yes, I am, but I'm also not what I would deem as like, and I don't necessarily like this word, but I'm not a stupid believer. Does that make a sense? Like,
I
I will totally
exactly.
use my logic and rule things out, but there are definitely things that I know that I've experienced that I cannot explain. And I've ruled out my logic. Was it this? Did the
Mhm.
light bulb need to be changed? Like all of those things. But yeah. Nope, I absolutely believe 100%.
What has been your craziest experience?
That would be at the Stone Arch Brewery in my hometown.
Oh.
Appleton, Wisconsin itself actually has quite a bit. And I know Ohio is deemed like the most haunted, one of the most haunted states, which I am so
Mhm.
shocked by that. If I can just go on a small segue, because I would totally think like New Hampshire and Massachusetts would be. You know what I mean? Like that section would
Mhm.
be the most, but maybe
Mhm.
that's just stereotypical. I don't know. Ohio seems to have quite a bit, but Wisconsin's not off the radar. And Wisconsin's got quite a bit and quite a bit that doesn't get discussed because there's been
Really?
a few that I had never heard of, and other people have come to me from Wisconsin and been like, "You need to do this." And I'll look at it and I'm like, "How did I not know this? Like, how did I not know about this?" And so that's been really cool. But the Stone Arch Brewery was one of my favorite hangouts in my original hometown of Appleton. And this place is really cool. It's an old brewery. It's right on the Fox River. It's got a outdoor beer garden now. It's very posh and bougie to go there now. So, and really good food. Like holy, such good food, and I'm a big foodie. So the place did have paranormal investigators come in when the new owners of Stone Arch took over. They did this whole thing and they filmed it. I think you can still find it on YouTube, if I remember correctly, but I remember watching it originally. And there is a back room. So you go down the stairs because it's called Between the Locks. The name of the building is called Between the Locks, and then the Stone Arch Brewery is inside, along with a comedy club and a hair salon and a couple of other things. But you go down into the basement, and that's where the restaurant is. And if you go straight ahead, you will see a big open archway of a bar. And then you can go left and you can sit down for dinner. That's like the seating area. Or you can go down this really creepy hallway to the right. And there is a banquet room back there that gets used for like weddings or conferences or whatever. And then there's a really narrow hallway around that corner to the bathrooms. And I remember I had to go, and so you have to walk past the creepy room, and there is definitely a vibe in that room. And they did pick up like a camera. The camera moved on its own during the filming and like knocked the people out of frame and like bumped itself, and nobody else was there. Like that was really weird. And then for myself, I go down the hallway and I have to use the restroom. And this is an old building, so there's only 2 stalls in the women's bathroom. Nobody else was in there. And all of a sudden the light goes out and I'm like, "Hey!" And the light came back on. Now, the door is a big wooden oak door and it creaks. I never heard that door open. The light is not on a sensor. It is the old school flip of a switch. And I was like, that's weird. And so I'm like, okay. I'm like, we'll just wash my hands and we'll get back to my table. I didn't really think too much of it because I'm like, well, maybe faulty wiring, who knows? Go to leave. And I don't know why. I don't know why I did this, Ashley. But I turned around, and you know how, like, underneath the door, you have, like, that glimmer of light? I
Mhm.
saw the light go on, and go off, and go on, go off, and go back on, and I was like, "Okay." Like, "Okay." So I get back to my seat, and the waitress was over, and she's like, "Can I get you anything else?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like,
I don't
I don't
know.
know. Like, I just had the weirdest experience, and then she told me, she's like, "Oh," she's like, "You met our ghost," and I'm like, "Oh," and that's kinda like I knew it was haunted, but I guess I just didn't think I was open enough to receiving it because I think that's part of it,
Oh, for sure.
the ghost's name is Eddie, by the way, and he
Is he a janitor? Was he a janitor?
No, he was actually a
Okay.
brewer, at the brewery
Ooh.
back in the day when it was open. And so there is, like, documentation of him and stuff like that because 'cause I'm always about documentation. I'm like, I want some sort of paper evidence of something, you know? And,
Mhm.
that was probably the most gnarliest and honestly probably fun experience I've had. Thankfully, knock on wood, I've never had anything actually scare me. Does that make sense? I haven't had that.
Yes.
So I'm very grateful for that. But 'cause I don't want that, like but the the friendly encounters and the tricksters, I don't mind.
Yeah, so I've had an experience with a prankster, not my favorite, but, now that I'm an adult, because that happened at, like, age 21,
Okay.
I didn't understand all of this. So now at my age now, pranksters are a little, they're just like, "Eh, okay, whatever." Like, I had one in my house not too long ago, don't know who it was, don't know where he came from, but I felt like it was a he, and I knew he was present because it was, like, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sleeping, and all of a sudden, something rushes next to my bed, enough energy to wake me up out of my sleep, and it didn't feel like a child, but you know that look when your kids
Yes,
used
I
to come
hate
in your
that.
room and stand there like and it's like, that's exactly what it felt like, and I just my eyes went to the corner of the room, and I was like, "Mm-mm, you're not allowed to be here.
Right.
You need to leave,"
Time
because
for you to go.
I'm heavy on protection. And so the next day, I burned some dragon's blood, incense, and some sage, and I was like, "You gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go." And the house really smelled like dragon's blood, but nothing else. Like the bedroom did, and the hallway did, but nothing else. The next day, I was taking my daughter to the orthodontist, and I'm about 3 miles from the house in my car, and then all of a sudden, the car is overwhelmed with dragon's blood smell. And it was like he was like, "I left.
Right? Like, "Here I am. You didn't say where to
Here I
go."
am. Now I'm in your car, bitch." Like, but haven't felt him since. But I will say before we started, I'm sitting in here talking to Berta, my little haunted doll back here who she's active when she wants to be. And I felt something come into my studio and I was like, I don't know who that was, but when you do this stuff, you
Yes.
open yourself up.
You totally do. You actually just triggered a memory for me too. I did an interview with a person who collects haunted objects and literally has a separate space in her house for her haunted objects. And I am telling you, when I got done and I don't know if this has there's a lot of skepticism to weed out on this, but when I got done with that interview and that episode recording, I was so lightheaded and I felt
Mhm.
off. And I was like,
Mhm.
I think I picked up on something. Like, I don't know what. I
Mhm.
don't know if it's possible, but something happened where I was way more open and something triggered. And it was just so bizarre. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to go take a walk outside. We're going to have a little palate cleanser and we're going to come back.
I'm gonna go touch some grass and hug a
Ye-
tree and hope I can just bring myself back down. Yeah, I definitely find that the more I talk about it, like I'm the type of person that can go anywhere and have an
Mhm.
experience, but I definitely find, like, the more I talk about it, and especially in this space has such a vibe about it, like, some of my kids really don't wanna come in here.
Really?
And it's not that it yeah, it does not that it's bad because it's
Uh-huh,
not, but it's you can feel the energy when you walk into this room. But the only haunted object I have that I know about is
uh-huh,
her, and she's a vibe. She is that but she's not she's no, I had to have some boundaries with her, but she is not negative,
uh-huh.
and I mean, she's positive, she's very protective of me. When I travel without her, she shows up in my dreams like,
Really?
"Where'd
Oh
you
my
go?"
gosh, I love it
Mhm,
though. See, that's something where I
mhm,
can get
she's
behind it.
super.
If you're not malevolent, I am super open. Like, absolutely, let's hang out. You're probably more fun than most living people.
You got that right. I love hanging out with some spirits now. They're great.
Yeah,
Well, and that leads me to my next question. And you just kind of answered it, which is, see, this is why I have them, but I usually don't need them. But you find the more you talk about it, the more you're open and the more you experience. Like that was my question, and you answered that.
100%. Yeah, I definitely I really my big thing part of my big goals this year too is to get into more locations and because I research a ton. I mean, I would deem myself a paranormal researcher, not an investigator, because I feel like investigators go on site. But I want
Hmm.
to be more involved in that and I want to check out more locations. I checked out a few last year, very like I didn't do as many as I wanted to, but I was just getting my feet wet at that time too. And now I feel like I'm definitely more I want to hit Shaker's Bar. I want to go to Witch's Gulch, which is in Wisconsin. I want to hit the Novitiate, which is an episode I did. And that is right in my own backyard. That's like 20 minutes away.
Nice.
And that is like that place is thick with history. But there's just so many locations that are not that far that I just need to make the road trip and go do it. And that is definitely on my list because I'm hopeful that if I go in with one, I'm always big on this, going in one with respect because I cannot
Yes.
stand when people just make a scene, make, they yell or whatever the case may be. That stuff drives me nuts. Like, no, go and be empathetic. These were real
Hmm.
people. You know what I mean? They were real people. Like, and if
Exactly.
they ever deserve respect, it's absolutely in the afterlife of whatever that might be.
Hmm.
Don't be rude. And like, I would love there's certain places too that, like, I'll never ever go, and there's certain stories that I will never ever cover just because of the sheer morbidness of it. But, yeah, I think the more you can get yourself into those places and the more you research and the more you do stuff, I think you do open yourself up a little bit more, and you start to know what you're okay with and what you're really not okay
Hmm.
with. And I think spirits pick up on that too. They know, you know what I mean? Like, "Okay, we're not welcomed," you know?
Hmm. Yep. I have only gotten rude, in my mind rude. I was probably still pretty gentle, but only once, and that was with an aggressive spirit that is known to be not evil, not malevolent, I wouldn't say, like, malevolent, but no he's very low vibrational. He wasn't positive in life, and from what I felt of him, he's not positive in death either,
Okay.
and he was targeting my friend, and she is a very talented psychic medium, very talented. Now, I've been told I am. I don't like to use that term when it comes to me just because it brings expectations that I don't think I can fulfill.
Sure.
And she is so good, but when it comes to she's also very new, but she's almost excited, almost to a fault. And I felt him focusing on her and almost siphoning her energy and using her, and she wasn't aware of it. And I was like, "No, no, 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 no." And then I finally did get very stern and very loud, and I just walked out of the room. And I have never done that, but I felt in that moment like there was nothing else to say or do.
Mhm.
And I apologized to her later, but I was like, that was just not okay. Like, he should not be doing that. You shouldn't be allowing it. Like, especially when you don't know the consequences of doing it.
Right, right. Yeah, don't play with things that you don't know. Like, that's a bad idea, and I think that's where people go wrong with Ouija boards too, is it's like
Yes.
Don't mess with something that you think is a toy. It's not a toy. Just because Mattel slapped a
Yeah.
label on it doesn't make it okay, you know?
Yes. Well, I think all of us kinda make that mistake when in the beginning, when we
Totally.
start going to these places, we're so excited, especially when you start having evidence and you're like, "Oh," and you want more, you just wanna experience more, but it takes one time to really mess it up for you, that you're dealing with something that you cannot
Mhm.
see, or like, some people can see them, most people can't.
Mhm.
And even a lot of psychic mediums that see them, they see them in their mind's eye, they're not seeing them in front of them, they're
Right.
just seeing them in their brain, and still, that is so unexplainable. If you do not know the repercussions that can come from letting something like that in, you should not mess with it.
Yes.
Don't do it.
Agreed. Agreed. Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Mhm. Yep, there are certain things that I learned. I used to use dowsing rods regularly,
Okay.
and I love dowsing rods. I'm very, very particular about who I use them with now. Like, really, truly only with my family members or people that I've known in life that have now passed on. I will use them with them, but, like, in locations where I don't know in spirit or in energy, absolutely not. You're not entering into my energy field. Absolutely
Correct.
not.
Yep.
Made that mistake.
Mhm.
So now I just have a question just because I'm nosy. And I was talking to another creator. His name was John, and he blew up on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. And it was something went viral. And then he was like, there he was. So I know you have had some viral
Mhm.
videos. How has that been for you?
That's a great question. That is a very great question. It's very interesting. It's definitely from a psychological standpoint, it's a trip because I remember how it started for me, it was on TikTok. I put something out on TikTok and that was the first explosion I had. And so I actually wound up getting mildly annoyed because I was like, "Oh my gosh, I cannot keep up with these notifications." Like, it was, like, constant, nonstop. And, like, I'd leave my phone, I'd come back, and I'd have 99 plus notifications. And I'm like, "How am I ever gonna keep up?" Because that's my thing. Like, my big thing is community with my group. I wanna
Hmm.
be connected with you. I wanna have conversations with you, but it was such a mass and it's like some were quality, some were shit, some were you know what I mean? Like, it was so difficult.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, I'm like, "Well, let's just see what happens if I put this to Instagram." Well, Instagram wound up blowing up way more. Like, all of a sudden, like, anything I put, my views were just going through the roof, which was great. I'm like, "Okay, that's where I want my growth to happen," and I was getting really good people. And now when you look at my profile, you'll see like, okay, I've got 266,000 followers presently on my Instagram. The funny thing is, not all 266,000 of those followers, number one, engage or listen to my podcast. The difference in my analytics from my podcast to my social media, I will be very open and honest, is a very big valley. It's a very big valley, which is really
Hmm.
interesting to me. That honestly boggles my mind because I'm like, okay, so where's the disconnect? Is it just laziness and we don't want to hit play? Or is it that you feel I'm giving you enough here, so I'm not enticing you enough to come listen to the podcast? Which, in my opinion, if I saw it, if I was on the other side of the screen and the roles were reversed, and I liked that post or whatever it was that the person put out, I would immediately be like, oh my God, they have a podcast too? I gotta listen to that. And what I love though is it doesn't rule out the fact that people won't eventually convert because I have found too that people will follow you and watch you and gently stalk
Hmm.
you for a long time. And then all of a sudden they'll be like, hey, I just started listening to your podcast. And you'll go back and you'll look to see, like, okay, how long have they been following me? Or like, where has that been? And it's like, oh, dang. Okay. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you're listening to the podcast. You know, like that's awesome. And so it's one of those things where social media is about building that trust. And it's funny
Hmm.
because we are not a trusting society. So we are not trusting individuals by any means. So it's been a trip to see that. And I'm always very still baffled at the fact like 266,000 people don't listen to me every single week. I know they don't. you know?
Right? Like, my numbers there's a disconnect as well with me too,
Yeah.
so you're not alone in that. I have way more followers on social media, especially on the combined if you combine them all, than I do listeners, and I'm like, "How
Oh,
do I get more listeners?" Because this is my baby. This is,
yes.
like, something I'm putting my heart and soul into.
Yep.
My reels and my TikToks, I'm investing
Yeah,
minutes.
literally minutes. Less than a half an hour half the time. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. Like, especially if, like, I'm taking time my biggest video on TikTok is my husband who was well, no, that's the second biggest. The biggest was one of the first when Helene moved through, and I made these lanterns out of solar lights, and so my kids could have light because we didn't have power for a week.
My god.
And so yeah, it was horrible. I was trying to and I have kids that are scared of the dark, so I'm like, I'm trying to because we lived in a haunted house, so when we moved here, we were coming out of a haunted house to here. My kids didn't wanna be in the dark here. So I got lanterns and got little plastic flower pots and drilled a hole in them and stuck the solar light in there so that way they could carry it and it would stand up for them to put next to their bed. Well, that went like 36,000, and then the next after that was my husband, who was just being goofy in Marshalls.
And
So
isn't
the
it
shit that
funny?
I
It's like the
invest
most mundane thing. And it's like, and in my podcast, I'm pretty cavalier and very like, just like I am with you. Like, it's the same type
Mhm.
of tone. It's the same type of like
Yeah,
interaction of like commentary and like all of that. And it's like, how is that not registering? Like, you're still getting the same person. You know what I mean?
I don't know. If you figure it out, let
I
me know
will.
because I've
And vice
been
versa.
doing this Oh, I got you, girl. I feel like I have almost quit. I did quit once. In 2023, I had imposter syndrome, and I was like, "I can't do
Yep.
this." I was also working full time. So I was like, "I can't do this. It's too much to keep up with. It's too much to research. It's too much to edit." And I didn't know what I was doing. Everything's self-taught. So I'm like, "Oh my god, I can't do this." Pulled it all, deleted it, and then in 2024 decided, "No, this is what I need to be doing," and I put it back all
Mhm.
out. But yeah, like this is like my blood, sweat, and tears. And at least once a month, I'm ready to pull the plug and just disappear. I call it I'm gonna become a ghost because I'm gonna ghost everybody that's been following me for years. And I'm just gonna disappear because I just can't take it anymore. But then I'm like, no, you don't do this for followers. You don't do it
Yep.
to get external validation. You do it because you love
Yep,
it.
and that is so true because much like you, I go through the same thing. I'm like, "Why am I even doing this?" I'm like, "What am I doing?" And then I shut up and I give myself a solid pep talk, like, "Girl, you have said it didn't matter if only one person listened. It wasn't about that." And I'm like, "That's right, it's not." Like, you kinda talk yourself back up, and it's hard because it's almost like, how do I wanna say it's almost like a weird peer pressure that we put on ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's like, no, everything is
exactly.
cool. Like, everything is fine. And I'm very grateful for what I do have. Like, I don't want to dismiss that by any means. Like, very grateful to have the listeners I have, very grateful to have the followers that I have. Like, that still
Hmm.
blows my mind when I look at that. But it's like, at the end of the day, that's not why I'm doing it. You know what I mean? I'm not doing it for that.
Right.
I'm doing it because one, it's super fun. Two, it's a great way to learn about history in a way that we want to learn
Yes.
about history. And some of the stories that are out there, I do feel very compelled to tell because I think they are essential for us to know about. Whether you know them or don't know them, or you've heard the story 1,000 times, how you tell the story and how I tell the story, we could pick the same story and they're going to be two totally different ways of telling it. And I think that's what makes it important because each time, if like person A listens to yours and then listens to mine, they're going to pick up something different, even though it's the same topic. And I think that is
Yeah.
so cool. I think that is like really amazing how we gravitate to certain things and pick up on certain things, just depending on how that podcast host actually tells it.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I think every voice is, they
Important.
deserve to be heard. Yes, it's important. Just like the Crescent Hotel, and I bring it up in almost every episode because I love it so much. I always am learning something new about it
Huh? Yes.
constantly. Like when I was there in January, I didn't know this, and I have done an episode on it. I have listened to episodes on it. I have been there multiple times, and I have watched countless shows on YouTube. And I never heard this part. There was a survivor and she had gotten shipped off from there because that's what he would do. If they were on the verge of death, he would sometimes send them home and say, "You're cured, go home." So that way they wouldn't die there. And she went home and made it home because some of them didn't even make it home. And so she got home and she went to her family doctor, and her family doctor was able to find what was actually wrong with her. And she survived and testified in his federal court trial. And I never heard that
Oh my gosh,
before.
I didn't know that. Like, you just
Yeah,
taught me something. Like, seriously, that's insane.
I know. I was like, good for
Yeah,
you.
right?
I bet she
Like,
was
go
like,
girl.
yes, which I think is so funny that his undoing. This is sorry. I'm just like laughing because I worked for the federal court for 15 years in South Carolina. His undoing was federal charges for mail fraud. And that's what got him busted, not the fact that he was doing everything
Right.
else. He served prison time for that. And then he died of cancer.
Karma's a bitch.
Poetic justice. Norman Baker does not like me.
Mm,
I'm just gonna he told me that when I was there that I cannot stay. I said, "Don't worry, I
right? Like,
won't."
I ain't planning on it. Don't worry about it.
Yep, and then I got snowed in and he got to put up with me for an extra night. Hey. So one of my favorite episodes of yours is the creepy doll island.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That one, seriously, I can't remember what I was doing, but I remember and I made a comment on one of your videos and it's like this.
Yeah.
This is how I listen to your stuff. I'm like, right? There's doll heads hanging from trees?
Yes. And it is just covered, like, covered in dolls. Like, that is I appreciate haunted dolls behind a lens. Like, your haunted doll, no joke, if I know and I trust that the person's haunted doll is okay and, like, we'll say benign, if you will, then I am far more open to it. But if I get a sense of any sort of creep factor, I'm like, "Mm-mm, mm-mm." And I don't know, that island, that's giving me major creep. It's giving me major
Mhm.
creep.
Well, the fact that it started with a groundskeeper finding a doll and then being called or pulled or whatever to take care of this island and then collect doll parts and
Yes.
dolls and then strewn them about. It's like,
All because he
what?
wanted to honor the girl that floated up. Like, and that is just wild, and he let like, the other part of that story too that I think is really funny is like, "Oh, by the way, family, I'm gonna go take care of this island, bye." Like, ditched his whole family. Like, there's a story to that somewhere that I haven't been able to uncover. Like, why would you ditch your whole family? The only thing I can think of is it was, like, some sort of, like, weird blackmail, and I don't know if that's true or not, but, like, "Hey,
Right.
you're gonna go tend to this island or we're gonna ixnay your family." You know what I mean? Or your family will be in exile or whatever the case may be, because I can't remember exactly when that happened. That was, like, early Ned's when he, like, went over to that island, and I'm like, "Yeah, that is just weird," and then you're all alone on that island, and you're, like, tending stuff, and I'm getting very, like, Castaway Wilson volleyball vibes, like, you know what I mean? So right, Wilson? So, I just yeah, that whole thing, I that is very creepy. I don't think that is a place I love knowing about it, and I love knowing the story, but that is definitely a place that I
Mhm.
don't know I'd wanna touch ground to.
Me neither. I don't think I would because I definitely, being intuitive and being sensitive, I don't want to go to super dark
Yeah.
places because
Asylums
there,
are out for me, like, I like the stories of asylums, if that makes sense, like, not in a
Mhm.
morbid way, but I appreciate them to learn things and, hopefully
Yes.
pay it forward so that we can do better in the future, but
Mhm.
I do not wanna go on an investigation for an asylum or even for a jail or penitentiary either, like, that's where I draw the line.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to Missouri State Penitentiary and I love that place, but I didn't feel anything there. But then again, I did ask my spirit guides for full protection and they show up and show out and I felt absolutely nothing.
Right?
And I'm like, so now I have to be more specific.
Yes.
Can I at least feel
Will
a little
something?
like
Yeah.
just keep the darkness off me? Like, if you feel like some negativity, can you just block that shit, but let me experience the
Yeah,
other
let me
things?
experience the good stuff.
Yes, and it's so funny you were talking about the creep factor, and I was like, "That's irony, because your show's creepy
Good.
shit." I love it, but I totally understand what you're talking
Mhm.
about, like, completely. I have my hard lines, like, I was invited out somewhere for actually March 13th
Okay.
down in Texas, and I so wanted to go, but something was telling me, "Don't go." And so I looked into that more, and that house is really, really dark, really, really dark. So I was like, this might not be where I need to go because especially with what I'm dealing with my girls and stuff, they've been mental health wise, like I am giving a lot of myself to them to help them cope through teenage years and some additional drama and things like that. That if I am not completely at my best spiritual self, I am putting myself at risk. And it turned out my intuition was correct because something happened that week with one of my girls and I needed to be here.
Uh-huh.
I was like, there it goes. There it is. That's why I didn't go. That's what I was picking up on. And this is why you always trust your gut.
Always. Yep, your gut is never wrong.
Nope, it is not. I have a really hard time at trusting it when it comes to myself, but, like, with other people,
Mhm.
if I'm helping a friend or my family, like, I'll be like, "You need to leave that person alone, da da, they're just not good people," but when it comes to me, I'm always like, "Well, maybe they're
Uh-huh.
okay," or, "Maybe they just had a bad
Mhm.
day," and mm-mm,
Yep, totally agree.
every time it bites me. Bastards.
Right?
So where do you find yourself or where do you see yourself going in the next, like, I'm not even gonna say 5 years. 5 years is a long time. In the next year, like, what do you wanna accomplish in the next year?
I would love to see my book actually get published. That would be great.
Me too. We're gonna
I
get that done.
would definitely love to I want the podcast to grow, I really do. I really want the podcast to grow and get bigger, and I'd like to really get involved, and I don't know how to do this. One of the big things I really wanna do, I wanna get on some sort of panel, some sort of paranormal convention, conversation stage, whatever those proper terminologies are, to actually have a discussion about paranormal live. I would love to be able to do something
Nice.
live with a panel. I think that would just be so amazing. I really, really want that experience. And I just don't know how to make that happen yet, but I'll figure it out because everything is figure outable.
Figured outable, absolutely, and just by speaking it out loud, you're manifesting it and putting it out, and the universe is gonna be like, "Okay."
Okay.
I tell my friends all the time, I am an excellent manifester,
Mhm.
and if I'm gonna speak it, it will come to me usually when I'm not ready for it. Because I was like, "I wanna be invited to a Paracon," and so now I'm invited to one and I'm hosting another, and I'm like, "Shit, okay,
Right? Yes, that's
I'm
so
gonna be
true.
so awkward." Anybody like cheese?
Right?
Y'all like cheese? Yeah, I like cheese. Yeah, I don't know why. Anytime I get nervous, cheese is the first thing that comes to my brain, just
Yes.
cheese, and I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't know why I always go to cheese.
Very ironic.
King of the irony. Oh my goodness. Is there anything else that you have going on or
Let's see. I don't think so. I know that I mean, I'm gonna be going out actually today, and I'm gonna be going to check out a haunted cemetery today, so I'm excited about that. So, I'll have
fun? I
footage
love
of that on
cemeteries.
Instagram once I get it, so that'll be a
I
good
love it.
time.
Yep. People are like, "I don't like cemeteries. I don't like graveyards." And I'm like, they're very
Oh my
peaceful."
gosh, I think, honestly, we need to bring it back to the way it was in the 1800s where you would go and you would have a picnic, like, that was your park, like, that's what you
Mhm.
did. You would sit and
Wow.
you would have tea and you would be with, the past, and I'm like, "That is so cool." Like, we need to make that needs to make a comeback, like, it really does.
See, I didn't know that, but that makes sense because in the movie Coco, during the Day of the Dead, they have this scene where their families are sitting in the cemeteries and you can see their spiritual loved ones with them. So that makes sense. Okay, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yep, that was, like, a very thing to do, like, before we had the parks of, like, what we do now with, like, playground equipment and all that, it was cemeteries. People would go and have picnics in cemeteries. I know. I'm like, "Let's make that a thing. Bring it back."
It's really sad now because people get buried and they get forgotten
They
now.
do,
So,
and it's
not with
so
everybody,
sad.
but
It's like
it is.
that's why, like, when I cover stories, cemetery stories are probably some of my favorite stories to cover. Like, I love a cemetery. I love a cemetery. I don't know what I've even considered, I'm like, "You know what? Maybe one day, like, for pre-retirement or something like that, I'll be like almost like a Forrest Gump for cemeteries where I'm just cutting the grass."
One of my the other influencer, the guy that went viral, he actually tends to a cemetery where he lives and he records it, but he's been doing it for years and he takes care of he says he really doesn't do it with the newer headstones because he doesn't want people to be offended and they still have family. And so he allows those families, but like with the older side, the 1700s, the 1800s deceased, he's constantly taking care of their graves, mowing, moving sticks because he's like, they don't have anybody anymore.
Right? Yeah, and they still matter. Like, that's the thing too, like,
Absolutely.
just because we leave this realm or whatever your belief is to whatever you wanna call this plane, like, cool. But it's interesting to me how it's like, it's you're never really gone. Like, we are all I'm a big believer in the fact that we're all energy. So if that's the case, well,
Yep,
then
me
we're
too.
always moving in, through, and out of form and all that stuff and what have you, not to get too, like, out there, but it's so fascinating to me that it's like, well, they're gone now. And then that's it. It's like this
Yep.
closure and like this door slam. And it's like it doesn't have to be that way. And it shouldn't, in my opinion, but that's just me. And but I I always see two sides of the coin where I'm like, but I can understand if somebody is still alive and it's too hard for them to
Right.
face that. Like I get that and I respect that. But for those out there that I think that's where we become really important because we are the ones that will help make sure that they are still respected and still remembered in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm. Yep. And I always tell my kids, like my house ghost, and my listeners know I've talked so much shit about that man lovingly, but he made my life a living hell for years. But I love him. I miss the experiences that I had with him, but he didn't have children.
Uh-huh.
He had his mom, his sister, and his mom has passed, his sister's elderly, and he didn't have a family of his own. And so I tell my kids, we created new memories with him, even in his afterlife. And even not all of them were good. But in what family do you only have good
Well,
memories?
right, exactly. That's impossible.
Right. So in a way, we are keeping his legacy, not all good, but not all bad, alive. We are still sharing his name and his story in some capacity. And yeah, it's a little different than somebody that probably knew him in life, but the stories I heard about him in life were not
Yeah.
good. And so we laughed with him. There was a time that in my office, we were all in my office, and it was a really big room, and it had a bed and my podcast stuff right there, and all my kids and my husband, we were in there, and we were telling stories and joking, and the light started flashing, and the more the kids laughed, the faster the light was turning on and
Mm,
off. And it was almost like he was playing with them. And it's one of my more fonder memories of him because it's like this man did not have children. He didn't like children, but yet here he is interacting with my kids. And I definitely could feel his playful spirit in that moment.
I love that so much. Oh my gosh.
It was, it was the sweetest moment. I don't have it. And that's one of those moments like people are like, well, you don't have video of it.
Why do we always
My
need to have
most,
video of it? Why can't
right. My most,
yeah, like, it doesn't always have to be that way. You don't always need an
yeah.
EVP. You don't always need, like, you don't.
Mhm, and I tell people all the time because 'cause they're like, "Are you an investigator?" I am not. I am a
Yep.
storyteller. It's where I put myself and that's what I wanna be. I don't wanna be an investigator. Do I wanna investigate sometimes?
Of course.
Absolutely, it's fun, and it's like, I seem cool to my kids doing it. They're like, "Oh, mom goes into prisons? That's cool." But, like, I don't want to be responsible for finding that evidence. I wanna watch other people find that evidence and watch it
Yes.
and experience them doing it, and then I wanna tell everybody about it.
Yes.
That's what I wanna do. Well, I love this. I'm so glad that thank you so much for taking the time. I'm so glad we got to do this. And you are just such a beautiful soul and just a white light. And I'm so glad we came across each other. And just thank you so much for always being so supportive. If just not just me, but all of us. Like I see you. I see your little sticker. I call it a sticker. That's your cover. I have your sticker right here. But like I see it everywhere I'm going. I'm like, look at Star. She's everywhere.
Thank you. I try. I definitely I am. I'm such a slut for Instagram. I really am.
I'm leaving that in. Oh, sometimes it's good to be a slut. That's all
Right?
right. That's okay.
Exactly.
That's right.
Not all sluts are bad.
You got that right. Don't ever think that all sluts are the same because
Yeah.
we not. I'm
Not.
just kidding. Tell everybody where they can find your podcast and your social media.
Absolutely. So, social media, you can find me over on Instagram at creepy_shit_podcast. And if you want to check out the actual podcast, you can find it on Apple and Spotify, as well as Amazon Music. Pretty much any of your favorite podcast platforms, I'm on it.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to have everything linked in the show notes, and I'm actually also going to link the doll episode so everybody can have the pleasure of listening to that one as well. If you're not going to listen right away, just go listen to that one at least, because that one might keep you up at night.
Right?
Weird. It's so weird, but it was very good. So thank you so much, guys. Go follow her. Go give her some love and support. And while you're there, check me out, Ghost Gossip Pod, Ghost Gossip Podcast, and email me all your ghost gossip at ghostgossip247@gmail.com. Until next time, they'll see you later.